This is Sarah, founder of Shefit, and I am beyond excited today to be sitting here with one of our ambassadors, Allyn Rose, and founder of Previver. And we are just really honored to be able to not only have her as an ambassador with Shefit, but to be able to have this opportunity, especially as we're coming up on Breast Cancer Awareness Month, to really talk about the importance of pre-screening, taking care of yourself, watching for signs, and everything that may come with that. And so to get right into that, Allyn, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for being here.
So excited to be here. It's a real honor.
Thank you. And so with that, I want you to tell us a little bit about what Previver is and how it came to be.
Sure. Well, from the very basics, the Previver Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. And it's something that was really a passion project for me. So as somebody who's undergone a preventive mastectomy myself, I knew all the challenges that came with undergoing that sort of procedure and then the recovery and beyond. So the Previver Foundation is really designed to put women back in the driver's seat of their healthcare choices. So when women are facing maybe a mastectomy or a cancer diagnosis, they're able to advocate for themselves with their doctor, and the Previver helps them do that.
So kind of give us a little bit of intro into the backstory, about your childhood and how you grew up and a little bit of your life story. And I think that will really set the foundation for how Previver really came to be and why you're at this, the point in life where you've made the decisions and the choices that you have.
Absolutely. So I really feel like this sounds crazy, but the Previver has always been a part of my life. I was a young woman who cancer was always part of the vocabulary. And it was part of the vocabulary because my mother, my grandmother, and my great aunt had all been diagnosed with cancer by the time I was even born. And unfortunately, when I was 16, I lost my mom to breast cancer in her second bout. And to undergo something like that at such a young age, I think it really makes you realize that you no longer have the luxury of your youth. And particularly being someone with such a strong family history of breast cancer, I knew that I needed to be proactive in my life. And that's a little different story for every woman, but having such a strong hereditary link to breast cancer, I knew that it was very likely something that might impact my life, and I needed to take those preventative steps. And so for me, that looked like having a mastectomy in my 20s. Wow. And when I had my surgery, it was before Angelina Jolie's revelation, before anybody was really talking about this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
you were how old?
I was 26 when I had my procedure. Wow. And I was fresh off of competing at Miss USA and Miss America. And women in the beauty industry just don't talk about these sort of things. If they have to undergo it, they kind of brush it under the rug. It's something they do in secret.
I think touching to that, I think so many women in regards to any type of healthcare or beauty regimen or whatever, I almost feel like women in general are just afraid to be judged and they keep so many things secret. And so it's interesting that that's what you how you felt. Yeah. And I think that's something that we struggle with on a daily basis. Regardless.
Yeah, it's hard to be bold and open about any really personal choices in your life. But for me, I thought, I can't be the only person going through this. And why wouldn't I share my story? I felt this really strong, compelling feeling that it was important that I share the message that having this surgery was available to young women. Because whether you carry a breast cancer gene mutation like the breast cancer, BRCA 1 or 2, or you're somebody like me, I don't have a breast cancer gene. I just have this really strong family history. You can have something like a preventative surgery that could potentially save your life. And if you have maybe a breast cancer mutation, you have an 87% likelihood of developing breast cancer in your life. And to take that from 87% to 1%, I like those odds.
Absolutely.
And being able to share my story over the years, I've been contacted by women, and one in particular, this woman named Renee. When I first started sharing my story, of course, I had all these trolls, these nasty people saying,
always,
you're mutilating your body. How dare you do this? This is crazy. And this woman said, I found out that I had the breast cancer gene mutation. I lost my sister to breast cancer. And she said that she really struggled with the decision of whether or not to have a preventive surgery. And she goes, I turned on Good Morning America one day, and there you are, a 24-year-old talking about taking charge of her life for her future children, for her future husband. And she said, I'm sitting here at home with my husband. She said, I'm a teacher. I feel like I have 100 kids. And I wasn't brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
And she said, I called my doctor. I scheduled my surgery, and you might have just saved my life.
And your story is what catapulted her to do that.
Yeah. And she had the surgery, and she's thriving. And crazy thing, I ended up going on GMA again, and they surprised me by bringing her in from Florida. And
so you guys stay in touch. And
absolutely.
That's
and
incredible.
It just really warms your heart to know that everyone has a voice and how powerful that voice can be.
Yeah.
And whether you think that voice is really small, it can impact the lives of somebody else.
Very well said. And I completely agree with that. It's interesting too, because, you were talking about support systems and stuff like that. I mean, tell me a little bit about your support systems and what that looks like in your life.
I was very fortunate to have a supportive family and supportive friends in undergoing this procedure. My dad was actually the one that encouraged me to have the surgery. We had a rough go of it in the beginning.
I'm sure.
At 18, he sat me down. He said, he didn't tell me that maybe I should have the surgery. He said, you're having the surgery. This is important. And I was a late bloomer. I played guitar in high school. I was like a punk rock chick. I was, very late bloomer. So I just got my body. And I said, Dad, why would I do something like that? And he looked me straight in the face and he said, because you're going to end up dead, just like your mom.
Oh, and he didn't want to probably think about having to lose someone else.
And that's exactly it. I know. And I'm pregnant now, and the idea of having my own child and wanting, them to be safe. And
I get it. I mean, I have 4 girls, so that's probably why that makes me a little emotional, because, from a parent's perspective and losing a partner, to have to think about losing a child too is just not even an option. So I can appreciate that. And I think that's amazing. And so you talked a little bit too about your playing the guitar and stuff. What was activity like for you? Because I think, I think of being active and playing sports and whatever activity it may be. And how did that hinder anything like that in your life when it came to that decision as well?
So sports were a huge part of my life. I've always been an athlete. And so I was more on the jock side than the girly side, which is kind of crazy now working in this modeling beauty industry. Yeah. But I was a competitive figure skater for almost 10 years.
Okay, totally surprising. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, but I didn't do ice skating. I did roller skating, which makes it even crazier.
Yes, it is. How did you get into that? How does one say, I'm going to roller skate and that's going to be my hobby of choice?
Well, I went to a birthday party at a roller skating rink and I saw some skaters, going around the rink, and I said, Mom, I'm going to be a professional roller skater someday. And I was one of those kids that had tried all the sports and I don't like this. I don't like this. And she said, okay, if you can roller skate, stick with it for a while. I'll get you a pair of skates. And I had my eye on these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle skates. I just had to have them. And she said, all right, if you can stick with it for a couple of months, we'll get them for you.
What a great memory too of your mom.
Absolutely. And she really was a huge part of my life in figure skating. And I always tell the story and it gets me choked up. But, when you lose a parent, you have these really vivid memories of those special moments. And I was headed to the regional championships, really big competition. My brother skated as well. But my mom was right in the middle of cancer treatment. And she drove me from Maryland to North Carolina, dropped me off at the rink with my skates and my little brother and said, make the finals. I'll be back tonight. So, I think questionable parenting sometimes. I'm 12, 13, all by myself at this rink. She flew back to Baltimore, had a chemotherapy treatment, flew back the same night and watched me skate in the finals. And that's a parent, and
absolutely.
It encouraged me to stay in sports and to know that determination is so important and kind of vital. And then after skating, I played volleyball in high school and then in college, I ran track, all these sort of things. And you realize how important fitness is and kind of the journey through life.
Yes. And isn't it so important too, as a little girl, for me having 4 girls and, you talking about all those sports that you participated in and how that really kind of shaped you into who you are and the determination and just the mindset that it gives you. It's so important, isn't it?
Right. And you experience victory and defeat on a daily basis.
Completely.
And for people who don't compete in competitive sports or something similar, you don't get that same experience. And I feel like it carries you into other parts of your life where you're constantly going to be told no. You're going to have doors closed in your face. And with sports, you know that there's always another game. You can always pick yourself back up.
And you can always do better.
Yeah. And you're in charge of your own growth.
Yeah.
And so being active and being able to carry that on with you later parts of your life is something you can have with you through your entire life is really vital.
It absolutely is. And I think as a female too, don't get me wrong. I think it's important and whether you're a male or a female, regardless, I think it's important. But for a female's perspective, I just feel like that inherent drive, and just in life and what that teaches you in terms of to keep going and to push harder and to expect more, and the fitness perspective that you talked about, the importance of keeping yourself healthy and how you feel. So I'm 100% aligned with all those things. And I just love hearing other women talk about sport the way I feel so passionately about it as well. So
that's really kind of what connects us here too, right? Yeah. I had my mastectomy and I really struggled with being able to exercise again, because when you have a procedure like this, you can reconstruct in a lot of different ways. But for me, I always felt like something was wrong, or I was going to shake a part loose, or something.
I can't.
Yeah, something was going to go wrong. And my girlfriend Mara, one of my best friends, she said, "I found this bra."
Love Mara.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Mara. She said, "Why don't you give this thing a try? I'll connect you, with my friend. We'll get you this bra." And I remember hooking it up, zipping it up, and feeling for the first time like my life didn't have to be so different. And I know that sounds crazy and exaggerating, but to have that one thing in my life that was back to normal when everything had changed was really life-changing for me.
It's really crazy to hear you say that. And I even see you getting a little emotional, and I do too.
It's the hormones.
Seriously, I know.
So many women are not looking to have some sort of extreme in their life or to, wear anything radical, etc. Just to feel normal and to feel like they can do the same things as other women. And, whether you're teeny tiny or you have a large bust size,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We all want to be able to feel good, feel sexy, feel confident, and to be able to move in a functional way.
Yes. Well, I want to get back into talking about breast cancer awareness, and you share with us what Previver is, but what really is the mission of the foundation. And I want you to not only share with us what that is, but also some facts or some support around being aware as we're getting into Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
So I would say the main mission of the Previver Foundation is to put women back in the driver's seat of their healthcare choices. The thing that really triggered it for me was I sat on a panel with a young woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer and went to go have her reconstruction after she had a mastectomy. And her insurance company offered her one in-network surgeon, and it was a cleft palate specialist who was supposed to basically put her body back together and make her feel normal after she had battled breast cancer. And she said, "I'd rather have no breast reconstruction than have an oral surgeon perform my surgery."
Exactly.
And
that's insane.
It's insane. And so it got me thinking that over the years, so many women had reached out to me asking me about my reconstruction, how I did it, what type of procedure I had, what type of breast prosthesis I had reconstructed with. And there was just no one comprehensive place where women could go and learn about what their options were. And so I said, you know what? If it's not out there, I'm going to build it.
Yeah.
And so I just started building it myself. I said, all right, I'm going to figure out how to build the website. I'm going to become my own graphic designer. I'm working with a budget of $0. And women didn't know that there wasn't just one type of reconstruction. There's 16 different types of ways that they can reconstruct their body. And it just became this assembly line where women would come in, they'd have a procedure, the doctors would give them one option, which is basically just what the physician specialized in, and out the door they went. And I said, this is not right, because what's right for my body is not what's right for another woman's body. And so to compile that information, to put it together in a really easily accessible, digestible place for women to go. And even if you don't know if you want to have a mastectomy, maybe you just have a family history, you can go, you can find information about how to get tested for a breast cancer gene mutation. Or if you have one, when you're looking into your fertility in the future and maybe you want to eliminate that from your family tree, it's all packed in the Previver. I always call it the Wikipedia of mastectomy.
Yes, it
so
is.
You can just go there, you can find the information.
Yeah.
And I think this is really vitally important with not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month coming up, but living in this crazy corona world. where mammograms and screenings are considered elective procedures and women aren't getting them. So to encourage women to do a self breast exam is kind of my initiative for October, and teaching women how to do that.
Talk us through that.
Sure.
I mean, I think that can be an awkward thing as a female, right? Like,
it seems so self-explanatory. It's a self breast exam.
But it's not. It's not. It's complicated.
It is complicated.
So tell us how to not make it complicated. And how can I do this by myself at home? How do I show my child how to do this?
And it's a perfect time to start. Yes. I would say when you're in your teens and you get to really know just the terrain of your body. Because when you know what's your normal, you know when something isn't normal. And so a self-breast exam is honestly the easiest thing in the world. It takes 5 minutes or less, but it's just knowing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that we've done with the Previver is create these really quick and easy little videos where people can come and say, hey, all I really need to do is put my hands on my hips, look in the mirror, get to know what the size, shape, and color of things are, and really just sort of the feel of what your body is like.
Yeah.
And then once you know that, like we said, if anything changes, you're going to be the first person to know. And the scary statistic is that 43% of women find their own breast cancer, and they either do it by accident or through something like a self-breast exam. So it's very important that women learn how to do it.
How often should you be doing a self-exam? Like, is this something that you're doing monthly?
Yep. It's once a month. While you're in the shower, while you're laying down in bed, those are two great places to do it. And
walk me through what that looks like and how you do that.
So I would always say start by putting your hands on your hips. You look in the mirror. You're looking for size, shape, and color. And then obviously if there's something funky, like you're having some discharge, time to call your doctor. But if everything looks relatively normal, then you're going to want to put your hands over your head. You look for the same things. Then you just kind of bend over. If you're seeing any rippling, dimpling, something that doesn't look right, again, see your doctor. Other than that, you want to put one hand behind your head and you just want to take 3 fingers and really kind of walk it over the terrain of your breast. You can do it in a circular motion. You can do it up and down. You can do it zigzag pattern, like a spoke wheel on your bicycle or something. Just getting to know. And then you also want to make sure to get close into your armpit and then into your clavicle.
And what feels funny? Like when I've done before and I've went in specifically for this, it felt like a BB, a little bit like a BB. I'm like, that just doesn't feel right. And immediately, went in, saw my doctor. He's like, no, that doesn't feel right. Let's check it out. I've had a couple mammograms and I've had to go in for a biopsy twice and come to find out it was benign and nothing there. But it was scary.
But that's it. That's exactly it.
But the BB is what it felt like to me. Is that typically what doesn't feel right, or does it feel like something else?
No, it's usually a hard sort of pea-sized shape for most women. Obviously,
is it bigger if it's something bigger than that? Should you be even more alarmed?
It could definitely be bigger. I mean, my mother was 27 with her first cancer diagnosis, and the tumor was the size of a golf ball by the time a doctor would give her a mammogram.
Oh my gosh!
And she kept saying, "I feel something. Wrong. There's a lump in my breast." So even if you have the slightest inkling that something isn't right, go see your doctor. But our breasts have a natural, I always call it the terrain to them. It's like a mountain, it's lumpy and bumpy and it's easy to get scared and think, oh my gosh, is this normal?
It is, because there's a lot of things that feel different in there. Tissue feels funny. Glands feel funny.
Exactly. So I would say the great thing is to go see your doctor, have your doctor kind of do an exam for you. You know that things are feeling right. And then you have a baseline where you're starting off and you say, okay, this is what's normal for my body. Then if something changes, time to call your doctor.
You mentioned the BRCA gene. What does that, what is the BRCA gene? And is that something you should test for if it's not something that runs in your family? Like, walk us through some of what that looks like and what your suggestions or your recommendations are in regards to the BRCA gene.
So the BRCA gene is actually everyone has a BRCA gene, but a mutation of that gene is what causes the problem. So women or men who have the BRCA gene mutation have a heightened risk for breast and ovarian cancer. And depending on if you have 1 or 2, those sort of statistics and numbers change. But if you know that there's a strong family history of breast cancer, it's really wise to get tested for a mutation like this. And it's as easy as getting a blood test at your doctor, or you can even do 23andMe tests. These home screening tests will now let you know if you carry a common mutation. There are a lot of different mutations out there now that they've discovered, but they're relatively rare. The big 2 are BRCA. I would say there's no need to worry or be concerned if you don't have a family history of breast cancer. You don't need to run out and get tested for something like this. But if there is one or two close family relatives, it's really advantageous just to go get checked out for your own peace of mind. And then more importantly, if you find out that you have the mutation, it's not a death sentence. No. It's not something you need to panic about. There are real practical things that you can do to help prolong your life and to make sure that you're healthy. You know, a lot of that is staying fit. It's eating well. It's knowing the terrain of your breast to see when something changes, and making sure you're getting routine screening. It's vitally important.
So speaking about mammograms, I think that's one thing that a lot of younger women don't think that they need to do. I know I was one of them. I had a mammogram. I think my first mammogram was probably in my early 30s.
Which is pretty early.
Early. I actually requested it from my doctor. So it's not like I didn't have anything wrong. I just wanted to have one.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that and what someone should be looking to do or when they should be asking for that, even if their doctor's saying, no, maybe you're not ready yet, but like in their heart, reclaiming control of their healthcare and the things that you're talking about. Like if their doctor says, no, I don't think you're ready. Like, how do you kind of combat something like that?
So on average, they say that women should start mammograms at 40 years old. 40. But this completely changes if you're somebody who's had a family member, maybe your mother like me, who's had a diagnosis. You're actually supposed to start 10 years prior to that person's diagnosis. So for me, my mom was 27 at her first diagnosis, but you're not getting a mammogram at 16. This is you know, crazy. So I would say somebody who's had a family member maybe in their late 20s and their early 30s. Early 20s is a great place to start.
What happens if the doctor says, I think it's a little too early yet?
And this is something you really have to advocate for yourself. You have to push back. And I always say, if your doctor is telling you no, it's probably time to find another doctor, because having a screening is not anything that a doctor should say no to. And a mammogram is a really quick and easy way. Sometimes mammograms aren't as effective for women who have really dense breasts if they're young, but you can still do an ultrasound, you can do a sonogram. All of these sort of things can really give you a nice baseline, particularly if you're worried or you do have a strong family history of breast cancer.
And what do you say to someone who says, I have implants. I'm not ashamed of my implants or afraid to say that I have them, but I know that was a problem for my mammogram. It was a little bit different. It was super uncomfortable because of that. But what do you say to someone who's like, I have implants. I'm not ready for a mammogram, or I have implants. I don't need a mammogram, or I can't get a mammogram. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So I did a panel discussion with Eleanor Holmes Norton a couple of years ago. And I remember this woman standing up and saying, I just don't want to get a mammogram because it's painful. And I said, you know what's painful? Hearing that you have a malignant tumor. And of course it's uncomfortable, but there are a lot of uncomfortable things we do. There are uncomfortable shoes that we squeeze our feet into, tiny little dresses that we wear, you know, skincare, you know, all the sort of things we do. A mammogram is quick and easy. It's a couple of minutes. It's something you can do that can literally save your life. And if you catch breast cancer early, it's really curable and preventable. And so I encourage women to do it. And also we have a ton more options now. You can get a full breast MRI, which obviously is a little more invasive, but it doesn't hurt. You can have an ultrasound. You know, there's I have breast implants now. And so I don't get mammograms anymore. I get ultrasounds. And it's something that your gynecologist can do for you very easily. They can kind of peek around your implant and make sure that there's nothing hiding in there.
Well, there you have it, ladies that are listening. You need to go and
get your screenings.
Get a screening, right? I guess tell us a little bit. You had the mastectomy surgery. Tell us, you had said that there's like 16 different options. Just walk us through what all the different ones are like. And I know we can't go through all 16, but give us some information on what the different ones look like and the one that you chose and how that went.
So I had the most traditional sort of reconstruction, which is a breast implant reconstruction. And back many moons ago, when I had the procedure, they usually did it in a 2-stage process where they remove all of your breast tissue. They put in essentially an empty balloon. It's called a tissue expander underneath your chest muscle. And they slowly fill it up with saline over a couple of months till you say, okay, that's the right bra size for me. Then they remove those, they replace it with an appropriate size implant. That worked really well for me. I got back to just about the same size. It went a little bit bigger. Why not? I had a mastectomy. Let's do it.
Another thing that women are afraid to or ashamed to talk about.
Exactly. So went a little bit bigger, super happy. But there are so many different options. So for a woman that maybe is a little concerned about a breast implant, they say, look, I don't want something foreign in my body. You can actually use your own bodily tissue to reconstruct your breast.
I don't think a lot of women realize that.
They don't know that. And that's something that a lot of doctors won't talk to women about because they don't specialize in it. Because it's a much more difficult procedure for a surgeon to complete. So you can take that tissue from your back. You can take it from your tummy. You can take it from your inner thighs, from your butt. I just had a woman tell me that she did what's called a gap flap procedure. They did it from her butt. And she said, I have the nicest little butt now, the perkiest little boobs. She said it was the greatest decision that she made. And it's her own tissue. It feels natural. She has sensation after surgery. And that's something you have to worry about. If you do a breast implant, a lot of times you lose sensation in your breast. And that's something that a lot of women don't want. And now what they're kind of revolutionizing is actually just reconstructing your breast with your own fat.
Wow.
So if you have kind of fat deposits, like from your tummy, from your sides, you can just recreate your breast with fat, which I wasn't a candidate for that. I was too tiny. But I would have maybe reconsidered the type of surgery that I did if that was an option for me, because, you know, why not use your own bodily tissue?
Completely. And I want to step back just a minute, because what is a mindset as you're getting ready to go into this surgery? And because you're removing something that's been a part of you, and is, as much as you know that you have to, or whether you're doing this, you know, preventatively or whatever it may be, the decision, you know, that it is, that's a really difficult pill to swallow. Like what were you, how were you dealing or feeling, you know, with that prior to going into that surgery? And what did that feel like afterwards?
I would be lying if I said that I wasn't scared or timid or had moments of thinking, oh, what am I doing? Particularly because I was 26, I was unmarried. I had no idea really where my life was headed. And I had to get sort of into the mindset of, I'm giving up this part of my vanity so that I can live. And the thing that really gave me the confidence to do it, my mother left me all of her journals. And in them, she wrote me a letter. And one of the things she said, Dear Allie, I'm so sorry to leave you because you'll need me for many years and not just a few. And I felt like in that moment, I was able to put myself in my mother's shoes, and she would have given up any part of her body to be here for another minute to share her life with us and to be able to counsel us. And if I was thinking about something so superficial as, you know, my breasts, and that was going to stop me from being here for my future children, or having to, you know, potentially leave them because I was vain. But that's not to say that it's not a very challenging decision. And the way that you look and the way that your body looks is vitally important to women, particularly when you're young, and it's how you face the world. And I was very lucky. I had a wonderful cosmetic outcome for my procedure. I had great doctors, but I think it was going into it with the mindset of, I'm choosing to live. And that's the most important thing.
And that letter, wow. You know, I can't even imagine. I guess I think of my girls as you say that, and I can only imagine what it took to write that and then read that. It's amazing.
I know it's easy to get really, really choked up. And I think having my mom be so brave to sort of really lay it out for me. You know, this is how it is. I'm sorry. I'm going to leave you, and this is my advice for you in your life. And the letter's only 4 pages, but anytime I have some big moment in my life, whether it's getting married or making a tough decision, I swear this is like the sisterhood of the traveling pants or something with this letter. There's always just something else like I'm getting from it. Like, how did I not remember this line that was in there that very clearly told me that the type of man I was supposed to marry and, you know, what type of career field I was supposed to go into.
She sounds amazing.
She was wonderful. And I'm so fortunate that I had 16 years with a mom that loved me that much. And so I can't.
So she gave you the strength, really, you know,
absolutely
to put the mindset where it needed to be. That's incredible. Woo, chokes me up. I mean, it's just, you're a survivor, girl. You're a survivor, and
thanks for saying that.
You're a pillar of strength. That is for sure. And so, Well, I want to know too, when did you decide to go public with your story? I know that we had talked
Mhm.
about that a little bit, but that takes a lot of courage in its own self. That was part of your plan, was to go public so that you could hopefully, change, if not just one woman's thoughts or feelings about what this may look like for her own life. But, tell us when it was a decision to say, hey, I am going to do this. And
Yep.
then Proviver came out of that. And so, give us a little background on that.
So it actually happened very organically. I was a Miss America contestant at the time, and my charitable platform, the thing that I wanted to share with the world was preventive healthcare.
Yeah.
I hadn't necessarily told the whole world that I was going to have a procedure like that, but I had a friend, Morgan Ortegas, who actually works for the State Department now. She's incredible.
Oh my gosh, look at that's the connections,
yep.
right?
DC is like the place to be. So she said, hey, this is a really powerful story. Do you mind if I share it with a friend? And I said, absolutely. So I didn't know her friend was a writer for People. And so she shares it with a friend, a publicist, what have you. And People called me and said, hey, we want to do a story. But it was supposed to be this teeny tiny little blurb in the corner of people.com,
Right.
Some one person would read it. But I thought,
in the corner.
Yeah, that, you know what? Cool. Still amazing. I get to be on the website. I woke up to, I think, 20 missed calls after the story had launched. And it had gone viral, and not just regular viral, like 30 different countries, hundreds of millions of homes. It was everywhere. Wow. And it was, a Miss America contestant chooses to remove her breasts, to prolong her life.
Yeah.
And because no one was really talking about it at that point, I think it really touched a lot of people. And they said, hey, this person is giving up really the thing that defines them. Like, I was known for the way that I looked and the way that my body looked. I was a full-time model. And giving that up for life was a very radical thing, which seems so silly to say out loud, but
I get it.
People thought it was just absurd.
Yeah.
And so it really just changed the direction of my life, and seeing that your voice can impact other people, like we had talked about. I said, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that was 2012.
Right.
So close to 10 years.
10 years and you've been on this journey though, and look at where and how far the Proviver Foundation has come, which leads us to how you and Shefit and our partnership. And so, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's I'm really excited about that. And we're going to be, Shefit in the month of October is going to be donating a portion of our sales to the Proviver Foundation.
Which we're very grateful for. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I mean, we're not only a company that puts women in control and supports them from
literally and figuratively,
right, a boob perspective. So, but I just really think that what you're doing is incredible. I love other women that are on a mission to empower other women. I think that's one thing in society, unfortunately, that is difficult to find, is good friends that you can count on, and women that actually want to prop other women up and truly do support and encourage them to find success.
Yeah,
I think that's rare. And so anytime that there's an opportunity to have synergy with someone else like-minded is always a bonus over here at Shefit.
Yeah, it's I think it's like the word you use, it's a perfect synergy. And a lot of people ask me why Shefit. And
because you don't wear any other sports bras. So
no, I am a Shefit girl through and through. And it's because it's such a unique product in that this is something that you can have before, during, and after a reconstruction. So many things in your lives are changing. Your body is changing.
Yep.
I had to throw away clothes. I had to throw away basically every bra that I owned.
Yeah. The prosthetics during all of that.
Absolutely. And things are changing and you have swelling. And I mean, it's like normal changes for women in general, we fluctuate, but going through a procedure like this, it's a big change. And I love the idea of a woman being able to have a Shefit as part of her life. And then God forbid she has to undergo a procedure like this. This can be something she wears home from the hospital. This can be something that is with her during the entire recovery process, and then something that's with her through her journey of life.
Yeah.
You don't have to change because the bra changes for you.
I love that. And your journey to start back into being active and fit, especially if it's such an important part of your life, which it was for you. Also, as you're getting ready to be a mom here, I mean, that's how Shefit was created. So not only is it helpful in those stages of life that you just talked about, but also as you get ready to be a mom, your body is going to start start to change again. And,
for sure,
it's going to change. You're going to want to stay active and fit. And so I love hearing that. So as we kind of wrap this up, Allyn, give us your top tips in terms of being proactive. What are the top 3 or 5 things that you run and go do now as we're looking at October as being the awareness month? What are Allyn's and the Proviver's
my top tips?
Top tips?
Number 1, know your family history. This is not something that's possible for every woman, obviously, because sometimes we just don't know. But if you have the opportunity to find out with the last 2 generations, if anyone's been diagnosed with a breast or ovarian cancer, number 1 thing when it comes to will you be diagnosed in your lifetime? So knowing that family history is vital. Number 2, learn how to do a self-breast exam. And that is something that people can find on our social channels at the Previver, and then coming in October at thepreviver.org. If you want to learn how to do it, we're going to lay it out simple and easy. It's 5 minutes. Yep. It's vitally important to know how to do it. And then it's a tool that you can take with you for your whole life, and you can help your friends learn how to do it. And I always say, you could save a life, your friends are your own. And that's number 2. And then 3 is just pay attention to your body. You are your own best advocate, and you know when something's wrong. Yeah. So if something is feeling off, you find a lump, you find a bump, or even if you're just feeling a little bit run down, that's how my mom discovered her breast cancer. She just wasn't recovering the way that her body was supposed to. And if your doctor says no to a screening, go get a new doctor.
Go somewhere else. Those are great tips. And Allyn, thank you so much for spending this time and opening up your heart and, being another kick-ass woman who refuses to settle, right? Because that's what Shefit's all about. Also taking control of your life, coming here and sitting with us, having some fun boob talk, getting a little emotional, a little all with it too, but having some laughs. We so appreciate it. And I'm just very lucky and fortunate to have had you come into our lives, to have you be a part of Shefit's ambassador program. I wish you so much luck in the future. And I know many good things are going to happen in any way that we can continue to support you and your foundation. We will do.
Thank you. And everybody stay tuned to all of the Shefit channels. We have some very interesting and fun content, partnership with the Previver. So I'm very, very excited about October.
Sounds great. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next time.